to infinity and beyond.
This is me. This is how I win.
Were you rushing or were you dragging? Answer!
You're a wizard, Harry.
Say what again? Say what again? I dare you.
No. I am your father.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
And here we go.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back inside the film room. We hope you had a great Thanksgiving. It's Zach Goins here with Johnny Sobchak. Johnny, my friend, my 24-year-old friend. How are you?
I just feel ancient, Zach, to be honest.
Welcome to the club.
But no, I'm doing well. Yeah, just it's a weird period right now, I feel like. Because it is the holiday season where it's in full swing, and a lot of movie things happening, a lot of news, and a lot of screeners are getting sent out, and new movies are releasing. It seems like every day or something, and so that's exciting. Also have a little bit of part-time work going on, also writing reviews and trying to come up with stuff for the site for everyone to enjoy. So, but also trying to relax and kind of like just hang out. So.
Right.
It's a weird little mix, but I think we're so far so good. It's only December 6th, so we'll see how the next 3 weeks go. But
yeah, that kind of, with everything being like pushed back as far as award season goes, I was kind of like, I don't know, back in like late September or like early October, I had like on my I'm like one of the few people in the world who still uses the app Time Hop. I've figured out that like shows you your social media posts from like a year ago, 5 years ago, like on this day. But I saw like early October, like I got my first screener last year, and I was like, man, nothing's ever happening this year. Like, when is this actually going to happen? And everybody's doing the digital stuff now, but like the fact that like over the last week and a half, 2 weeks, I've gotten like 30 movies, and I'm just like overwhelmed. Like I don't know what to watch or when to watch what. So I feel you on that front.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that,
it's great. I'm excited, but yeah, it's a lot.
Your first go round in the NCFCA lifestyle.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, I guess I don't know what I expected. I mean, I kind of knew that was what happened, but I'm pleasantly surprised. I mean, got that awesome pack from Neon.
I just got that today. I'm very excited. Very excited.
Yeah,
that's one of the few.
Yeah, in a weird year.
Go ahead.
And maybe I also hadn't considered what they might do differently or like how it
previously.
No, I'm down for it, and it seems like everyone's doing a pretty good job, kind of compensating for all that. So that's good to see.
Yeah, I got the Neon package today, and that's even more exciting just because it's like it's one of the few that's like actually physical, which for both of us is like heaven versus a expiring digital screener link.
Yeah.
So that's exciting to get that little notebook to flip through. But today we are talking about one of the, I guess, in the film circle, one of the most highly anticipated movies. I guess it kind of boils over just because of David Fincher's name into the general public. But we are breaking down Mank from Netflix. We've got our usual news to go through. It's going to be I don't know. We'll see how much we have to say about Mank, but it's going to be an interesting episode. But before we dive in, we have to do a plug here. Got to do a plug for @Inside Film Room on social media, on Twitter specifically. We have a ton of giveaways going on. We just gave away, hey, you want an early Christmas present? You want a 4K edition of Lord of the Rings, all 3 movies? Go follow us. Go get it. We just gave it away. The Hobbit, Blade. We've got a big one coming up. Christopher Nolan's Tenet coming out soon in the next couple weeks. I believe 9 days from now. So we will be giving away a copy. Go follow us. Don't forget your chance to win it. If you somehow listen to this podcast and don't know about our social media, you're missing out. Had to do that first, but let's get into this episode. But what's been going on other than work, birthday, all that stuff? Was it a good birthday?
Yeah, I had a wonderful B-day. It was kind of split in a way because I spent a lot of it at Reagan's family's house. They were super sweet and took good care of me. Had some donuts to wake up to on my birthday morning. And then some streamers and balloons and all that good stuff. I also got a couple
4Ks I saw.
Yeah, I also got Blade Runner, the OG, on 4K, and after that, because my birthday was November 25th, and then Lord of the Rings 4K trilogy came out on December 1st, and that came in the mail this past week. So yeah, super excited. My whole family as well also got me some 4Ks and some standard clothes and things like that. But I have a ton, like my 4K library has truly exploded over like the last month or so, which is exciting, especially with the pandemic
actually
happening.
Having one to watch it on.
Yeah, and my PS5 has been getting plenty of workout so far, so that's also good. So yeah, super happy, super fortunate. So shout out to everyone who came through, my friends, and one of my best friends since like 7th grade, Gabe, came through with. So he got me Avengers Endgame and Mission Impossible Fallout on 4K. So that was my first Marvel, my first MCU movie on 4K, added to my collection, much to my chagrin, you might say. But
hey, I have it on. I have it on
Marvel,
4K,
so
and it looks great. Okay, Endgame when they're on
does it really?
the planet, yeah. The planet where Scarlet, or not Scarlet Witch, Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow, where she dies. I can't remember the name of the planet, but
Vormir.
That Vormir, yeah, that looks great. All the colors, it's incredible.
Okay, yeah.
So it's worth.
I'm hyped to watch it. I'm hyped to watch it. I'll have to add some others to the collection as well. Well,
something that I don't know if you've been hyped to watch. I don't know if you've actually watched it yet. Have you seen the Euphoria special yet?
I have not. I haven't, Zach.
It's okay. It's okay.
It feels like every day over the last several since they released it, I've been like, oh yeah, we'll watch it today, and then we'll watch it tomorrow. Oh, we'll watch it tomorrow. So.
Well, I was not.
It's going to be in the next. But
I know Jake watched it like right away. I was a day late, but oh my gosh, it is so good. I forgot how much. We won't go too deep into it since you haven't seen it yet. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's just an absolute like tour de force of Coleman Domingo and Zendaya going back and forth one-on-one essentially for an hour. I forgot how much I missed that show. It just like hits so hard and it cuts to the core of everything. And it still has like, even though it is something so simple, it still has like all of the flash and the music and the colors and the lighting and the film, the cinematography of everything.
Yeah. I'm so excited to watch it. I've heard nothing but good things so far. So I don't know. It's killing me, but I'm also trying not to think about it. I just know it's definitely going to live up to the hype, it seems like.
Yeah, definitely. It was definitely, I know you said you're watching Sound of, I don't think you said it on pod, but you told me that you're watching Sound of Metal tonight, but maybe sneak a little Euphoria in there.
Yeah, definitely late tonight or early tomorrow, I think is the goal. So
we've got a couple quick hitters before we dive into our news. I just want to take a minute to talk about Elliot Page for a second. Of course, this was if you missed it, I was actually late to this news. It was the disclosure, the coming out of the actress formerly known as Ellen Page announced that she's transgender, and it was I was like on Twitter, I didn't know why Elliot was trending, and then I clicked on the profile and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm tearing up. It was great. I'm very, very happy for him.
Yeah. I mean, I want to say out of all the, big, like high profile people, and especially in this industry in particular that are trans, I feel like this might be like the most high profile person to ever like come out. I mean, I'm trying to think of others. I know, of course, like Caitlyn Jenner, for example, but Paige has been around for, over like, I don't want to say like 15 years or something.
Sounds like Juno, really.
Yeah, Juno, X-Men, Inception is probably the most famous film, especially for our listeners, that he's been in. It's just like, that kind of longevity and that kind of, fame, it's pretty impressive. And like, no matter how famous you are, like no matter how much money you have, it doesn't make it easier as far as the kind of courage I think it takes to like come out to the world and say like, yeah, hey, this is who I am. And just knowing, especially like in the trans community, just the violence and the harassment that does happen, which is the terrible like reality of the situation. So yeah, I think it's, it's of course newsworthy, but just like recognizing that element of it, I think is important. So I can't wait to see what, the rest of his career looks like, and just the roles that it'll be interesting to see him take on, and how this helps, others in the community, feel, more empowered to kind of, come out or like speak their truth about.
Right. I know that he's currently in like I guess his current like main project is the Umbrella Academy on Netflix. I haven't watched it, so I'm not familiar with it, but I saw fans like immediately just being so accepting and being like, let's find a way to work this into the storyline here. Like, let's make this part of his character. Again, I don't know anything about the show or whatnot, but that would be exciting to see them kind of openly embrace, like see Netflix just immediately take this in stride and not show any hesitation with it. So hopefully, I don't know if that would affect anything narratively there, but hopefully that could be something that sounds cool to me as an outsider and unfamiliar with the show. Yeah,
for sure. That definitely, I think they might, I don't know if they made an official statement or anything, but I know that they said, I think that perhaps they might the character going forward will just be a man. I think that might be what has been reported, but I'm not sure if that's like totally concrete or not. But yeah, so either way, that's awesome.
Round of applause for Elliot Page. That's
shout out.
Like Johnny said, incredible courage there, and we are fully. I know an endorsement from inside the film room doesn't mean much, but we are fully in support of him moving forward, of them and their career moving forward. So. Yeah. Exciting news. But let's dive into the rest of the news from the week. First off, there's something absolutely major, earth-shattering, as was teased on Twitter. But that is the fact that everything on from Warner Brothers is following the Wonder Woman suit now. Mm-hmm. Everything is going simultaneous debut in theaters and on HBO Max for the entire 2021 slate. So that means Dune, that means Wonder Woman 1984, that means The Suicide Squad, Godzilla vs. Kong, In the Heights, and all, I believe, 17 movies that are on their docket. They're coming at no extra charge to HBO Max for 1 month, and then going back to strictly theatrical, and then I guess paid VOD or whatever. They end up
Blu-ray
rolling.
And 4K.
Right. So absolutely, this is like groundbreaking for the industry. You got to imagine that's a blow for theaters if the current status of the safety of the pandemic of everything kind of maintains as is. Hopefully it's getting better, but giving people, it's a win for movie goers, I would say, though, knowing that we're not just going to keep delaying and suddenly Dune's coming out in 2023. So that's good news, I would say.
Yeah, that definitely seems like the main thing, at least in my mind, is that now it's like you said, it's not going to be delay after delay. It's going to be like, for certain, these are the dates that they have laid out, and it's not going to be a weird kind of guessing game every 2 weeks. Hey, what are they going to do this time? Like, what's the status of COVID? Like, what are theaters looking like in a month or two? Or like in some instances, like they're trying to guess months and months ahead. And of course, marketing goes into that, and interviews and press junks and all that stuff. So it's a pretty big deal, of course, on the theatrical side of things. I think they say it's going to be a 1-year thing, which everyone has been pretty skeptical about, I think, right out of the gate. I think really at the end of the day, it's going to be, this is kind of the short-term solution that they thought would be best. I mean, I'm not a financial expert. I'm not a marketing expert. I just think that they decided, hey, HBO Max, it's been struggling a little bit. It's kind of the big thing going forward. We know streaming is the future. That doesn't mean theaters and streaming can't coexist. And of course they have for years now. But in 2021, vaccine is on the way for COVID, but realistically, everyone packing into a theater, masks or not, is, at least 6 months away, probably more like 8 or 12. So I think this was the right call. I think we'll see if it works. We'll see if they're pleased or not with the financial, results. They're committed through the entire year. We'll see if, 6 or 7 months from now over the summer, when maybe COVID is hopefully dissipating a bit and the vaccine circulating, maybe they're like, hey, well, that's
about Dune,
Yeah, this hasn't been working so well. Maybe we should just make it theaters exclusive now. We're not going to do the HBO Max thing anymore. Or maybe they're just fully committed no matter what. Or maybe it will be like a huge success and it won't end up being the year that they said it the only 1-year thing that they said it was going to be. And maybe it will go another year or indefinitely. I think that's kind of the biggest thing, is that you don't know. It's kind of like a Pandora's box situation. Once this thing that has never been done before is done, it's kind of hard to go back or
right. And I mean, I think
about the distant future.
I think that the biggest thing here is that, like, obviously giving viewers the choice. Like, for you, like, I mean, I know you went to go see Tenet because you were comfortable in that position. I did not, because I wasn't, and that's the biggest thing. Like,
right,
allowing people the opportunity. I'm not going to miss out on getting to see Dune because I didn't want to go to a theater and risk something if it's still a risk at that point. Exactly. So I think that's huge, that it just gives people the choice. But also, like, I know we've both said it, that theaters may look different at some point, but the theatrical movie-going experience will never go away. I mean, nothing's ever going to replace, whether it's the big screen. I think you had the poll about why do you go to the movies? Like, whether it's the big screen, the surround sound, the communal aspect of it, like, there's that's not going to be replaced. It may look different and more people go, like, this may force theaters to go from being the small old school theater to now transforming into more of the luxury theater thing, like that chains have been going a little bit, but it's still going to be around. So AMC may close, or Regal, or whatever brand name you have associated with theaters, but some way or another, there will still be a giant movie screen where people can pack in and watch something. Yeah, that's not going away.
Yeah, and I think that's basically been the position of a lot of people since the pandemic started, and all the the debate around theatrical windows. 90 days was the gold standard forever, and then Trolls went Trolls World Tour of all the movies.
That's the one that brought down the system.
But then it was like, okay, how about 3 weeks or 2 weeks or a month, or and then it's just been like the rapidity with how this whole thing is played out is pretty staggering. And it's an unprecedented situation. It's an unprecedented year, at least in modern times. So, it's hard to, a year ago or like 7 months ago, maybe it'd be hard to imagine this outcome. But now it's like, okay, I think we're all quickly kind of adjusting to it and realizing what it is. And this is how it's going to be, at least for the foreseeable future. And I'm not opposed to it. I mean, I've always been diehard for theaters, and I'll always go to a movie in theaters, as long as I feel safe and comfortable. I still plan on seeing Wonder Woman in theaters around Christmas time. I'll just wait and find you can pick your seats. So I'll find, an empty showing with maybe 2 or 4 other people in it. I'll just go to that early in the morning or late at night or whatever. Because I love seeing it in IMAX. I love seeing it on the big screen. I love, a night out or a date night. And I think that's something that people will always look for. And so exactly like you said, I think theaters will always exist in some capacity. It'll just never be like it was before. And whether that means Amazon buying AMC or something like that, maybe that's what it'll be. But I think, like you said, it's just giving people options, especially given the crisis that we're all going through.
Right. And I guess the only the logical next step in this thinking, not as grand of scale, but will others follow suit now that Warner Brothers has done this? If, Wonder Woman in December takes off and it's a big hit, is suddenly Disney Plus, are they putting Black Widow simultaneously in May? Is that going to be something? We've talked about it a little bit before, and I mean, I think that's a very likely option, especially after sort of the $30 for Mulan, and then they see, oh wait, Warner Brothers is over here doing this for free with better movies, so
yeah,
we can't really do that. So I mean, I could see if they have the sort of, if they're able to report the success that we think that they're hoping for, I could easily see something like that if things don't change happening with Black Widow or anything else like Disney related or other streaming wise.
Especially the last thing is, I think you also have to remember that Soul was going to be a theatrical release, and then they put it on Disney Plus, and it's only on Disney Plus, and you don't have to pay anything for it. It's not available in theaters. It's just a straight streaming release. So they have already committed to that kind of model. I think that's also numbers that they'll be looking at to see, hey, so we didn't even put this in theaters. We didn't ask anyone to pay for it. How many people watched it? How many people, how many subs were added? And then from there, they could be like, well, what if we do the same thing with Black Widow or, Death on the Nile or another animated film, but also have it in theaters where it's available and make money that way as well. So I think it's something, of course, it's kind of insane to consider that other people wouldn't follow suit because, you're only limiting yourself at that point. Maybe the damage between your relation with theaters is something to consider. But at this point, I mean, the theaters don't really have a leg to stand on, do they? So
they're fighting for their lives out there. They can't be like,
exactly.
Oh, we want 21 days or we want 21 instead of 18 days or something like that. Like that's not much of bargaining power.
Agreed. So I think that's where we stand. I think there are those things to look at going forward, but I think we have a kind of a fuzzy image of what it'll look like.
Agreed. Well, speaking of Wonder Woman, I mean, we can't talk all about the release plan and not talk about the recent reactions. The initial social reactions are in. No full reviews yet. No plot points or spoilers or anything like that. But the first reactions are pretty freaking glowing, I would say. They are – I'm sure that they were sensitive with who they sent this to, who they shared the movie with, as a certain Twitter personality has acknowledged. But, I think that all around it sounds like this is going to be a great time. So
I love the original Wonder Woman. I saw it 3 times in theaters, I think. And I mean, it blew me away. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. I know you liked it. I'm not sure how much you loved it.
I'm pretty sure I really enjoyed. I remember loving it. I think I've only seen it that one time in theaters, though. But I remember
so you're not a true fan,
right? But I remember walking out and being like, "This is the best thing DC related since Dark Knight." I remember
that's pretty
making that claim at the time, and I don't think I don't think I've watched it since then. But I do remember being a big fan when I left the theater.
That's high praise. And so, I have had high expectations for this, but I don't want, I haven't wanted to put them where oh, this has to be better than the original. Or this has to be just as good as the original. I think with Wonder Woman, it's a character I love, but I'm not it's not like, oh, it's gonna ruin my life if this movie isn't good. I mean, there's no movie that it would be like that for me necessarily. But it's not like a Batman who I've loved ever since I was like 5 years old. I just have more recently come into knowing about Wonder Woman. And there have been some kind of interesting, choices they've made. They set it in the 80s, for example, and that was kind of a divisive thing. People were kind of like, oh, they're just nostalgia baiting, or they're just going to, they want to use that fashion and the music and all that stuff. Which, I mean, I never really thought that was exactly the case. I think that 80s, it's set during the Cold War, and there's, a lot, consumerism and just the political and social aspects, I think, are interesting. I think that's something Patty did a pretty good job with in the original. And so I was looking forward to that. But I think now I feel a little bit more confident because these reactions are so positive. I'm still not like, oh, this must be like an amazing movie, but it's good. I mean, I think hearing reactions like this are certainly better than hearing, oh, it was fine, or it was bad. I mean, of course they're people to have, they want to have a somewhat limited, first reaction. They want people who are going to, be more keen on Wonder Woman or the first movie. But I still think, I mean, it's good reaction. And I don't know, what your thoughts are as far as what you saw and read with the reactions, but
I mean, the biggest thing is that, the biggest thing I think is that people are excited about it. Like, yeah, that you can tell that there's like genuine excitement about it. And I mean, I know you're more into the reading it, like, okay, the embargo's about to break, I'm going to read 30 tweets about it. I just kind of saw basically what you sent or retweeted, but like, yeah, I didn't see anything. I didn't dive too deep, but like, the people seemed happy with the action, with the plot, with the characters. There wasn't anything that really stood out as like a negative. And I mean, with like a superhero movie, I'm not necessarily going in expecting like something groundbreaking, but I'm expecting like the popcorn movie, this ton of fun, something that's going to be fun to look at and leave me happy. Like, and that seems to be like exactly what this is going to be, and hopefully possibly more.
Yeah, and I think if anything, what made me feel, pleasantly surprised, I guess you could say, with the reactions was that a lot of them like specifically pointed to things that I was either surprised by or like maybe concerned about beforehand. Like a lot of praise. So it's
reassuring.
Like praise about the villains, which was good. Or like just talking about like how emotional it was. I saw a couple different tweets that said they were like tearing up or like crying. I was like, okay, like, I mean, when I watched the first one in theaters, I'm not ashamed to admit, like, I cried like multiple times during that movie. Like, of course, the whole Steve Trevor thing, especially at the end, was, I think, what got a lot of people. But just, I mean, I think there was something special and like maybe a lightning in the bottle effect where it was really like, there are, of course, like comic book movies with women leads before, but this was like real era of having like someone playing a woman in a huge movie. So seeing that on screen was like especially like moving for me. So I think now that effect is gone, I'm still hoping for that, but I'm kind of wondering where that's going to come from. So, hearing those reactions and talking about that specifically, it was like, okay. Like you have my attention. But no, I mean, I don't need to hear or see anything else. I'm excited. I'm not trying to get too amped up, but I'm also like, if it's bad, I'm going to say it's bad. And if it's mediocre, I'm going to say it's mediocre. I just hope it's good. And if it's great or amazing, that's going to be awesome too. So
wouldn't that just be great to have a super fun, exciting theatrical experience to close out this year? Like, talk about
that would be so great. Absolutely. I really hope that's what we get. I mean, they at least shot on IMAX cameras. So if I can sneak into a near empty theater later this month, and see that, must be at least better than Tenet. So.
That's true. I'm still waiting to check that out. But all right, moving on. We talked about Wonder Woman for quite a bit. So next up, we have some change up, a little shift here. Emma Stone has exited Damien Chazelle's Babylon, his film called Babylon that's upcoming, due to scheduling reasons. But that means Margot Robbie is now in talks to replace her. This is co-starring across from Brad Pitt. So, I mean, this is going to be a smoking hot cast. And if it is Margot Robbie, in fact, then it would be a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood reunion. Mm-hmm. So that on its own is like, I mean, I know Leo was probably, I think I could speak for you that he was my favorite part of the movie, but having those 2 out of 3 back together is not bad at all.
Not bad. I love Damien Chazelle. He's one of my favorite directors of the last few years, and Whiplash especially was a movie that kind of reinvigorated my interest in like filmmaking. I know you like La La Land a lot, right?
Big La La Land fan, huge Whiplash fan.
Okay, good.
Mid on First Man, which I know is a sin for you, but
no, I'm huge on First Man. They're all 5 out of 5 for me, which is, that's no like minor thing, especially for me, who is like more particular. So this is, I was excited already because I'm just ready for him to get back behind the camera. But when, Emma Stone, I like her a lot. I'm not like her biggest fan. I like Margot Robbie a lot too, but I'm also not her biggest fan. I know you love her.
I'm a big fan of both, but I'll say that I know some of your like criticism, I guess you and Jake both, is that her filmography is very up and down for Margot Robbie. But like, I don't think with her specifically, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you've ever really mentioned that it's like something about her, but just like her movies. And I think when you put her with a Damien Chazelle and a Brad Pitt, that like,
that's true.
It's going to be hard for that to go wrong.
I think you're you're right. And I also think that on top of that, I think this is, poised to be potentially her best movie and or her best role. Because it does seem like a leading role. It sounds pretty substantial. I would be curious to see if she has screen time with Brad Pitt, if how much it is, because they did not cross over in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But it's a period drama, of course. It's rated R, which is interesting. It's his first one since Whiplash. It's going to be rated R, and it's written that way. It seems like that's how it's going to be directed and everything. The industry turning from silent film to talkies is interesting, especially if you're a big fan of like Singing in the Rain, which I think it's an amazing movie. I've only seen it once, but it's great. But that is also, I'm not saying there can only be one movie about going from silent film to talkies, but like it's a very famous movie about that subject. So I find it interesting that is what Chazelle like keyed in on, and that's the story he's going for. What would you like to see in this movie as far as like maybe I think Margot Robbie, I'm not sure if she's playing a real life person. I'd have to look. I don't know. Again, same with Brad Pitt. I'm not sure if he's supposed to be playing a real person or if he's going to be playing a fictional character.
I think the fact that this news is on this episode, which is also reviewing a movie from old Hollywood and the movie that I did not care for whatsoever. But this, like, at the same time, this news, like, I'm ready to see this. I'm ready for Babylon. Yeah. I think it's like, I think that there would be, I don't know, there's something that it just like intrigues me more, whether it's Margot or Brad or Damien Chazelle. Sure. I'm a big David Fincher fan, which we'll get into later, but like, I'm not getting pumped up about Gary Oldman being, he's a great actor, nothing against him, but like, that's not like a flashy, like, oh, Brad Pitt and Margot Robbie, Yeah. Like, no. I just, based on, I don't know, this just seems like something with the La La Land background as well that Chazelle would be more poised to tackle versus Fincher, who's like 90% of his movies or shows are about serial killers making the shift to old Hollywood. So
it's spot on.
And I haven't heard that this is going to be in black and white yet, so we'll see what happens there.
I don't think it will be. I think if he was going to do something like that, it would be a very specific usage, if that makes sense. But no, I think I totally agree with you about that. Even from the inception of Mank, when we first started hearing about it and who was going to be in it, and that's what David Fincher is doing, I was like, okay, David Fincher is coming back. Like, that's something to look forward to. But I was never like, oh my God, I cannot wait to see this movie. It's like, as soon as I heard they're making this, and it was Damien Chazelle, it was going to be rated R, and Brad Pitt, and Emma Stone, of course, and now Margot Robbie instead of Emma Stone. But I mean, I was on board. I was like, wow, this is like one of my most anticipated. Can't wait to see it. I think I'm on the same track as you in that regard, where it's like my anticipation level, if we're comparing this and Mank, is very, very different. And I hope that this movie Babylon is much more interesting and just better than what Mank by David Fincher ended up being.
More on that later, though. You got to stay tuned till the end of the episode.
Not to spoil anything.
We've got 2 more pieces of news before we get into the deep dive of Mank. But I'm going to turn it over to you for this one as I don't know if you have the background in this specific game, but you are more of the gamer than I am. So go ahead here.
Yeah. Okay. So Metal Gear Solid. I mean, it's an incredibly popular, very, highly praised video game franchise. Has been around for, I want to say like 20 years now, maybe dating back to the PS1.
It did. I did look that up. It was on the PlayStation 1 in 1998, I believe.
Wow. Okay. So over 20 years. I'm not sure how long a film production of the game that franchise has been being kicked around, but over the last couple of years, I think it was after Kong Skull Island came out, Jordan Vogt Roberts was attached to direct a Metal Gear Solid movie for Sony. And, who's going to play Solid Snake? Who's it going to be? I'm trying to remember names that had been tossed around because, of course, there's always fan castings and, fan art and things like that. But they finally have their man, and it's a very, very popular and I think solid choice. And that Oscar Isaac, the man just doesn't know how to stop. He is adding this to his upcoming projects. It's, I think he fits from what I've seen, just images. I haven't played these games, but from the images I've seen, I think he has a good look for it. I think it'll be he's moving through kind of he's a serious actor. I mean, he's done like art stuff, but he's now in this realm where he's doing more, genre like films. I mean, this is like going to be an action film, I'm sure, but there are like kind of sci-fi elements to it. Of course, he's doing Dune with Denis Villeneuve and playing Duke Leto, who is, a badass in his own right. But no, I think this is a cool choice. The original game, which is what this is supposedly going to be based on, follows Snake, a soldier who infiltrates a nuclear weapons facility to neutralize the terrorist threat from Foxhound, a renegade special forces unit. So what the movie actually ends up being, not totally sure what it's going to look like, and if any other big names end up getting attached to this, or big characters from the franchise. But I think this is definitely good news. I mean, it's exciting. Anything Oscar Isaac does, and has my attention. What do you think, Zach? I know you're Oscar stan as well. I think it's safe to say.
Right. I'm a big Oscar guy, but I don't know anything about Metal Gear Solid. Like, I know the name, I know that it's a video game, but until I pulled up that plot synopsis, I was unsure of anything about it. But I did, while you were talking, I did a quick search for a fan casting, and back in 2017, I'd seen Hugh Jackman's name thrown around for people. Obviously, this is I would say Oscar Isaac is not as rugged as him with the whole Wolverine background.
Yeah.
I could see, they both have the similar, like, dramatic chops. Hugh Jackman is no slouch. He's not just Wolverine.
No.
But
I think Oscar's a bit younger. I think that probably helps.
Yeah, it seemed that on that list, though, they had 15 major characters that they had. Obviously, they wouldn't bring in 15 like A-list top tier people. So it remains to be seen how many of those would be like big signings. But it seems like there's room here to kind of make this into I would assume a franchise, just based on it being a video game and there being multiple editions of the game. But obviously you've got to consider the track record of video games to movies.
It's not good.
Not great. I guess the most successful is Detective Pikachu as of now, probably, which I mean,
I think Sonic has a claim.
Oh,
as
Sonic,
well.
yes, that I forgot about Sonic, but I mean, both of those are
They're on the up.
obviously both of those are more like child oriented, more kid friendly versus what this sounds like it's going to be, which I mean, again, that's a different direction here. Like this basically is going to be like a spy espionage war movie. It sounds like, so that doesn't even, it has the name of a video game, but it doesn't necessarily have like any of the tie-ins or anything like that. Like so I mean, we've got Uncharted coming up, which is a little more like, I don't know. It seems like it's depends on whether they're like adapting the plot of a game to the big screen or whether they're just like being in that world, using those titles, using those characters. So I don't know. I mean, I'm interested with anything, like you said, anything that has Oscar Isaac in it.
Yeah. And I think, how are you, you've seen Kong Skull Island, right?
I actually haven't. I haven't seen any of the Godzilla or Kong movies.
Okay.
I've seen the Peter Jackson King Kong, but not like the Skull Island.
I thought Skull Island was pretty good. It's an enjoyable action adventure movie. I'd say that the one kind of concern, I mean, Jordan Vogt Roberts is a big fan of Metal Gear. I think that, of course, always helps. To know the source material and to have a passion for it, and you're not just getting plugged into something you know nothing about. But I would say maybe one of the concerning things about this project thus far is the screenwriter is Derek Connolly. And his resume includes the screenplays for Jurassic World, Monster Trucks, Pokemon Detective Pikachu, and he wrote the story for The Rise of Skywalker.
Oof! So, big yikes!
Hey, best of luck to him. We hope it's a good movie. So, we'll see. It's a long ways away, it seems like.
Yeah, with everything on, like you mentioned, everything on Oscar Isaac's schedule, it might be a while before they get around to this one. But
exactly,
like you said, we'll see. But one last piece of news: we are not going to spend too much time on this. The physical biggest piece of news. It's, it happened, I guess, probably almost 2 weeks ago at this point, but we can't not talk about it. And that is the official teaser for Clifford the Big Red Dog, which I don't know if you grew up watching that cartoon. I did. I had some of the books as well. But we got to look at Clifford. And oh my goodness. It's like maybe you think they're just going to like get bullied like Sonic did and go back and change it? Because this was rough. Literally, like how rough.
Okay, so yeah, okay. Okay, so call me crazy. This is good. This is good.
You thought it looked good?
It's good. He looks like a big red dog.
Well, first of all, he's not even that big. Like Clifford in the cartoon is like 30 feet tall. So this dog is like an above average.
They're setting him up for
dog.
Sequels, bro. He's gonna get bigger.
It did look like it was like a puppy though, not like a full, like it had the puppy face.
Like a puppy, I agree.
But like it literally just looked like you went into Photoshop and turned the saturation down and turned like the color balance to red, and like that was it. Like
that my main I will give you one complaint if that's what you want to hear, because I do think it looks good, and I don't think these poor VFX artists need to go back and remodel this dog. But I agree, it is a bit too desaturated. I think the colors need to be bumped up,
brighter. Like he's like bright red, and
he's in
very the books. Like
he's very bright and crisp in the books. Here he looks just too, like his colors
he's
are
washed out. Yeah,
he looks, unfortunately, like the main thing I could say is like he looks like he's actually he has like yellow or like a yellow like lab, he was
he's
like
just dirty,
covered in blood.
Oh God. No. I mean, first of all, I didn't even know this was a movie that was happening. I didn't know this was a thing. But if you were to have told me that it was, I would have thought this would be going the route of a Tom and Jerry, of that sort of like, just like make him animated like that in the real world. That's because he's like, that's the style of the cartoons. So
yeah, he looks pretty cartoonish. in the cartoon and book.
Right. So I don't know. I'm not gonna lose sleep over the status of Clifford the Big Red Dog, but we had to.
Absolutely, my most anticipated film of the next 2 years.
Well, you know what? We might have to discontinue the podcast if that's the case. It's time. Let's do it. I can't wait any longer. I just want to get this over with so I can stop thinking about it for the rest of my life. Let's review Mank from David Fincher.
Mank? It's Orson Welles.
Of course it is.
I think it's time we talked.
What is it the writer says? Tell the story you know.
Hello, everyone.
Make yourself to home, Mr. Mankowitz, or shall I call you Herman?
Please, call me Mank.
Mank.
This is Herman Mankiewicz, but we're to call him Mank.
Mankiewicz. Herman Mankiewicz, New York playwright and drama critic, turned humble screenwriter, Mr. Hearst. This is a
Mank. More like Mank. Huh. That was my Letterboxd review. This movie, like I said, the latest from David Fincher. Netflix's seems to be their awards darling this year. Seems to be their, I want to say this is their Irishman of like, it's going to be a big push and it's not going to.
It's going to get 12 nominations and win 0.
Yeah, I don't know. But again, this also has the advantage of being about Hollywood, and Hollywood loves movies about Hollywood. So that might work in its favor. But starring Gary Oldman, Amanda Seyfried, Lily Collins, Tom Burke, Charles Dance, Rotten Tomatoes score of 88%, critics score 72%, audience score. I don't know about you, Johnny. I know you were higher on it than I was just because of your admiration of the technical elements, but we'll get into that. This movie, I literally was dreading it going into it, and I tried my darndest not to let that affect me as I was watching it. I locked in, I tried to get into it, and I just could not. This movie, absolute wolf. 30 out of 100 for me. It felt so long. First of all, take my movie card away. Haven't seen Citizen Kane. So that obviously plays a part here. Didn't really care for what was going on. Understand, I was not invested in the characters whatsoever. I literally did not care about anything that was happening. Sure, it looked cool. There were the issues with it of like the digital versus the film, or like trying to make the old movie. For the most part, I think they did a decent job of like making it look like an old movie from the 30s. But it sounded cool too. I really liked the score, but beyond that, I'm never going to think about this movie ever again, except I'm going to have to for award season. But then after that, never again.
I'm going to have to write an awards radar on this or something, aren't I?
Yep.
Yeah, I was higher on it than you, just out of sheer respect. But
respect for the craft.
Respect for the craft, man. If you've seen Citizen Kane, that's all right. I'm not big on Citizen Kane either. I think it is a great movie that set the bar for a lot of things to come. I don't think it's like the greatest movie ever. Like I wouldn't even put it in like my top 10 or 20 or 30 probably. But I don't think that must be a prerequisite for watching Mank or enjoying Mank. I've seen Citizen Kane, as I've said, and I did not enjoy this movie very much. It is very, very lifeless, I think. It drags. I think the script didn't do this movie any favors, unfortunately. I know it was written by David Fincher's late father, Jack Fincher, which, of course, turns this into a sort of passion project for David Fincher. And, would he have done this movie if his dad didn't write it? Who knows? But the fact is he did it. His dad wrote it. And his dad passed away, I want to say, in 2003. So it was many years ago at this point. Whether or not any edits were made, it doesn't seem to be the case. He is the only writing credit on it. But it does have a strange kind of structure and pacing to it. It does drag very, very much, especially, I think I said something like, it was maybe it felt like I'd been watching it for like 2 hours and it wasn't even at that like hour and a half point. Like it felt like it was time to be over and it just kept going for like 50 more minutes. And I had no attachment to the characters. I mean, the performances were good, but they're not like, Gary Oldman. I think when we hear that name, I mean, he's a legendary actor, and he won for Darkest Hour, his Oscar finally a couple of years ago. And I'd say this is his most high profile role since then. And he was good. I mean, he was really good. I think everyone might have needed a little bit more to shine, like more time to shine in this movie.
Oh no, don't make it longer. Dear God.
I think maybe just the scenes could have been, or, some scenes like here and there could have been rewritten or shuffled around. I don't know. David Fincher. I love Gone Girl. That was his last film from 2014. You love that movie even more than I do.
Mm-hmm.
We're both big fans of his. I think we love Zodiac and Seven. Fight Club is a great film, and The Social Network, of course, one of the best films of the century. But this just was so cold and so dull. I really didn't have. Again, I had respect for a lot of the craft. It's designed well. They try to do some cool things with the cinematography and the sound and the music, as you noted. And I talk about all this stuff more in depth in my written review, which you can find on the website and on our Twitter. But it just, while it's all well and good, it just never all came together in service of a story or a script that was ever like captivating.
Yeah, I mean, I like long movies. If it's a great movie, I want it to be as long as possible. This movie was only 2 hours and 12 minutes. This was no Irishman. This David Fincher, Gone Girl is 2 hours and 29 minutes. Zodiac, 2 hours and 37 minutes. This felt like twice the length of both of those.
Yeah,
it was
no question.
Absolute drag from start to finish. Like I said, I'm out here trying to get into this movie, trying to go against all of my preconceived notions of this. But it was, like you said, I mean, the performances were good for what they were, but I mean, nothing about this was compelling to me. I mean, I did not understand, I guess I understood it, but like, I did not really get along with the split timelines. I just felt that was like somewhat, what did you think about that? Like having the narrative of like him writing it and then the like prior flashbacks and going back and forth.
Right. Well, there's like, I guess you would call it the present, in air quotes, because that's when he's riding Citizen Kane, and he's basically trapped in this like hotel room in the desert, and he's been in a car accident. And he's kind of like, he has suffers from alcoholism, and he's just feeling miserable, and he's kind of dealing with the people who are trying to work with him to get the script done. He has like a nurse and he has like an assistant. And then that is intercut with segments that are from like the early to mid 30s. And is basically, I mean, I wish I could tell you more about what those scenes are. But honestly, I mean, it just feels like him talking to a bunch of, nameless white dudes in different offices. And I don't know. I mean, I got, there was also kind of the political, subplot in there with the 1934
Upton
election.
Sinclair and all that stuff. Like,
Yeah,
I was
Upton
just
Sinclair.
like, why is this happening? Why?
It was interesting. I mean, it's kind of interesting on its own right, but also like in parallel with what we're seeing now in the United States. But to me, it was kind of like, okay, like it's in like that. I see what you're doing, but I don't really see, I think the main point that was being made is it was kind of ridiculing and in a way, I guess, maybe exposing how the studio system really, they were involved in political affairs and were like actively campaigning against Upton Sinclair. And William Randolph Hearst was involved with that, of course, who was like a news mogul. And if you don't know this, Zach, he was like the inspiration for Kane in Citizen Kane, which is the main character, Orson Welles' character. But yeah, no, I just, it was interesting in some ways. I mean, I found out some things I guess I didn't really know or realize before, but again, it wasn't really in service of characters that I found likable or interesting. I think in any movie you have to have, to be a good movie, or like to be entertaining, whatever is good in your opinion, you need a story or characters, preferably both. And in this, it was like, you know, the characters are, you know, they're fine, but it's not like, oh, I love this person. They're just so, I mean, Amanda Seyfried's character was pretty, you know, she has, you know, a personality. Like she actually has some, you know, like kind of pop to her when she shows up in a scene. But then on the flip side of that, the story, it was just kind of like, what is happening? Like what exactly is going on in these flashbacks? Because in the present, we have Mank in the hotel room trying to write Citizen Kane, and when you're cutting back and forth like that with multiple like timelines, you want to have a good balance, like something to contrast against the other. But it was really Mank talking in a room in the present about doing Citizen Kane, and then cut to Mank talking in another room to guys about making a movie at whatever time period they were at, or talking about politics at a dinner, or, you know, it was just the main character just wasn't, I just didn't care. I mean, when it comes to the end of the movie, spoilers, I mean, this is real life, this is something that happened. But it just talks about, you know, what happened after Citizen Kane and how he died, you know, kind of young. And, you know, of course you could chalk that up to his alcoholism. But it's just like, oh, okay. And then that was it. Like the movie ended and I was like, all right, okay.
Yeah, it was another one of those that had taglines at the end. Were you upset by those?
I forgot that we had talked about that. I wasn't upset about it. I thought that it's just so lazy. It's just so goddamn lazy. And I didn't care. I didn't care. I don't even remember what the last scene was before. Was it the last scene that happens before it's to all the epilogue stuff? Was that when he's
him accepting the Oscar? Doing it from his house or whatever.
But before that, like it kind of does a little montage to show what happens after Citizen Kane. Is that right? And you hear Orson Welles like doing an interview, and you also see an award ceremony. I think right before that is when Hearst kicks him out of the castle, right?
Yes, I believe. I've already forgotten about it. It's legitimately.
I can't remember if it's a present, if it was a flashback, because there's also the part where Orson comes to the hotel and
they have that big fight. Yeah,
they're arguing, and I think he throws something at the wall.
He does. It shatters and it's wet.
And then Mank is like, "Oh man, this is it. This is what we put in the movie." And it's just like in Citizen Kane, but in Citizen Kane, there's this huge freak out scene where Kane like tears up a whole like room and just like destroys it and like throws everything. And so it just felt kind of like look, like we're referencing that thing that happens in the movie that you know, and this is what this movie's about. That movie that you know. I don't know. It was all just so dry and just so. It didn't seem to have much charm or wit.
I mean, I truly, specifically to this movie, I do not have much more beyond this to say. Like I'm ready to be done with it. I didn't care for it. I don't have strong feelings about like anything that happened here, but I will say as David Fincher as a whole, like, I mean, and the potential moving forward with this movie, like, it seems to be, obviously, it's got the score, 88% critics score, 72% audience score, which is pretty surprising for me. I'm interested to see more about that, because when you think about David Fincher, like I said, it's Zodiac, it's Seven, it's Gone Girl. It's like these serial killers, these thrillers, this movie is nothing like what he's done, and it's extremely, I would say, extremely like inaccessible for like a common moviegoer. You know, like I feel like most the people who don't have the Citizen Kane history or the old Hollywood interest or something like that, like I mean, like me, like I mean, I would argue that I'm more than just like a common moviegoer, just with my podcast, with my website, like all of the stuff that I do.
Yeah,
it still made it hard because I didn't have those interests. And I mean, this is something that I feel like I checked today when I went to watch this, and you would think that if Netflix's big Oscar winner or big Oscar push came out, that it, now that they have their top 10 feature, you would think that it would be number one in that. And this was not even in the top 10. I mean, we had, like, I checked the top 10. I want to say Big Mouth season 4 was number 2. I can't remember. The new Selena series was number 1. Queen's Gambit was still in there at number 8. Like, Peppermint, the Jennifer Garner movie from 2018, which was god awful, is like number 5. So I mean, it's not. I don't think it's going to resonate with crowds of any sort of like significant size outside of like film Twitter, like the movie going like the central awards voters or movie community.
And I think that what you just mentioned too about the viewership and just the reception, popularity, I think that's pretty damning too when you consider that the awards are like months away still. If it's already being kind of like forgotten or like not grabbing everyone at once, it, you know, is that good or bad? Is it going to get like a second wind maybe?
I mean,
or
freaking Hillbilly Elegy was like number 1 when that came out on Netflix. Like, you know, that I mean, that's obviously there's the whole like
that's made for real people, Zach.
That's the real America. But anyway, you know what I'm saying? Like even that movie like
I agree.
Is getting more viewers probably than Mank is. So
no, and that's, I wish, you know, I'm not going to say too much about this either. I did have things I liked about it. I'm not going to completely, I gave it a 3 out of 5. I know a lot of people would be like, oh, that's a positive score. For me, that's like a mid mediocre score. I didn't like it, you know, especially I respected it for a lot of the things it did. I mean, they recreate a lot of really cool things. There's a lot of craft that goes in this movie that I appreciate. It just doesn't do it. The writing and the story just really brought it down for me. And I do wish, you know, neither of us really enjoyed it at all. I wish that there was someone, I wish we had like, this would be a good time to have like a third party on here.
Josh on here.
To have Josh or someone that really did enjoy it and gave it high marks to kind of just discuss what they liked so much or like what captivated them. Just because even for like Josh, you know, for anyone who's heard him on the podcast before with Josh Martin, I mean, he's a film historian, essentially. He's like the expert. He's like the authority, especially in our group, as far as history and film. And he really liked it. I mean, he gave it a 4.5 out of 5. And I would just be curious because even for him, like, I really wasn't sure if he was going to like it after I saw it because I saw it before he did. And I was like, I just don't know if he would even like this. Like, it's just so.
But even he's like self-aware enough to be like, this movie is all of the things that I'm interested in, and I know that nobody else cares about them.
That's true. That's true.
So that's just like, even for someone like him, it's not like he's blinded by his love for it. That he's like, is like, everybody should love this.
I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of where we are on Mank. It's unfortunate because, as you said, we are big on David Fincher, and supposedly he does have a 4-year deal with Netflix now. It'll be interesting to see.
Give me some serial killers.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. And I'm not even a guy who's like, oh yeah, like I'm not big into like true crime or like serial killer like interests necessarily. I mean, I love Seven and I love Zodiac, but I love The Social Network too, and I love Gone Girl, and that's not really a serial killer movie, but it's like I guess you could say like a true crime adjacent movie. But you know, I don't need that for a David Fincher movie to be good. I just need like something better than this. So hopefully he rebounds. Maybe he was shaking off some of the rust with this one.
It had been a while.
But he was doing Mindhunter as well, which I've heard nothing but great things about. And this kind of makes me want to go watch that even more now.
Go get the Mank out of your mouth and watch Mindhunter.
But I hope he does some really cool stuff on Netflix, and we get maybe another film from him or a series and a film or something, because he is. I mean, I do criticize some of his methods, and I think that's like rightful criticism. But he is extremely talented and very intelligent, and I think we want good stuff from him all the time. And it has sucked the last few years, like not having anything. I mean, I think everyone's complaining about that at like one time or another. But yeah, this was not what I was looking for. I do see the good things in it. I do see why some people do quite enjoy it and have had high marks for it. But for me, overall, I just did not work. So we'll see what happens with the awards stuff. But I won't anticipate this being the huge contender, at least as far as wins go, that I thought it might have been.
Agreed. I'm with you there. I hope it doesn't win, because I like to see, I mean, selfishly, I like to see something rewarded that I also
I think there's
love.
zero chance this one's Best Picture at the Oscars. I think, if anything, it'll come down to like the Trial of the Chicago 7. Honestly, I think still that right now, that's my front runner, just because that was pretty well received all around. And it has timely themes and things like that. This movie has some things you can compare to what's going on right now in the country and the world, but it's just it is hard. It is much less accessible, I think, as you've said.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, but you know what? Hopefully we can just forget about it, because it's gone. It's gone. But hopefully that review wasn't too bad. It wasn't as long or as boring as the movie. Okay, I'll stop. I don't want to be mean or unnecessarily bash this, but let's wrap it up. We're running out of time here.
We'll let it go.
Let it live. All right. Well, thank you all for listening. We really appreciate it. As always, our loyal listeners out there, thank you so much. Really means the world to us.
Absolutely. We really appreciate everyone's love and support. It's been a wild year, and we're coming to a close. The community that has kind of been around and come up, and we've gained, I don't even know how many followers.
Double the Twitter followers this year,
and listeners.
Yeah.
So we really appreciate it. We're going to keep it running. Of course, as always, follow us on Twitter. Look out for those giveaways on Instagram as well, TikTok. Like us on Facebook and subscribe on YouTube, where you can also find the podcast episodes in their entirety. And all those can be found at Inside Film Room.
And while you're at it, please go ahead and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We're on Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, Google, Amazon, YouTube, like Johnny said. I think there's something I'm missing, but anywhere you can listen to a podcast, we are there. Go ahead, throw us a rating and a review while you're at it. We really, really appreciate it. And be sure to come back next week. We will be talking about Amazon's latest potential awards contender, Sound of Metal, starring Riz Ahmed. So until then, we'll see you next time.